This is the June 12, 2008 meeting of the Athens Shade Tree Commission. The meeting will come to order. We have on our agenda tonight several tree permit and right-of-way issues, which we will address first. And we've gotten opinions from Ann Bonner, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources regional forester, on these items. And we generally often follow her opinion on things. At 24 Hudson, I think most folks have had a chance to go and see this tree, and this is a maple right up front on 24 Hudson, which the property owner has had a tree service look at, and then Ann Bonner has also assessed it, and she determined that this is a tree in serious decline and deserving needing to be removed. So are tree commissioners comfortable with?
Yes.
Okay, we will follow Ann on this. And the removal will be done by the city. We may not grind out the stump. And then there is a second item, tree permit request from Silver Heels SPM, I think a landscaping firm in Marietta that is doing some landscaping in front of the old Sheltering Arms, the apartments there at 19 Clark Street. And they request that 2 trees and junipers that are in front of Sheltering Arms that are deemed to be in the right-of-way be removed. They want to plant new shrubs and trees, ginkgo. This is a re-landscaping in front of the entire building. It's not a really terribly large or long building. The Ann Bonner's opinion was that the apartments, let's see, the Crabapple and the Hawthorne that are there are in good health, basically, but they need some pruning, and that they should be kept. That it would be possible for Silver Heels to introduce perhaps 1 or 2 ginkgos if they were fastigiate, columnar. So have people had a chance to look at it and think this is a good suggestion? Okay, we'll follow Ann on that one too. There is also, let's see, this was a tree that was brought to our attention by a citizen, and we have at 60 North Lancaster, there was a construction site. There's a red bud out front that was damaged in the course of construction, even though the property owner had asked that it be protected. Ann Bonner looked at it and said that she thought the tree probably ought to come out and be replaced. How do people feel that the property owner or the construction company should replace this tree?
Yes.
Let's see, and Ann also had a tree that we should ask Ron Lucas to look at too. I don't have an address, but it is the corner of Lancaster and Congress, a yellow frame house across the street from Mount Zion Church. And the tree is along the street, heavily covered with vines. If people would go and take a look at that, and we'll probably just have Ann and Ron give us the opinion on that one. And now we are at landscape ordinance issues. And the first item on the agenda will be apartments that are being proposed at 6 Mill Iron Street. Everybody has a chance to go see the site. Very interesting site. And the Farians are here, father and son, who are doing the project. Would you mind coming to the table up there? And may we have a copy of the plans? Sure. If you have a... Thank you. Pictures here. Great. Okay. So, let's see. This is a site, Mill Iron Street. There is there's an 8-foot, actually, no. The trees that are proposed for planting out front are in the existing, in the right-of-way, and that is really quite all right with the tree commission to plant trees in the right-of-way.
Okay.
As long as the owner realizes that they have to maintain them.
Yes.
Even though they're
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
right
That
of
would
way.
be me. We're going to own the project also. So yeah.
Do commissioners have other questions about what was proposed here?
Yes. This site really should have 8 or 9 trees on it.
Okay.
And our suggestion, I think, or my suggestion certainly, would be to incorporate some trees on the side by Christ the King and on the east side of it, I think.
Have you looked at the site, sir?
Yes, I have.
I mean, there's quite a few trees there right now.
But they're not on that property.
I'm sorry, what?
They're not on that property.
Not on what property?
On
No, I
on your
understand that.
property.
I
They're
understand
on the
that.
adjacent owner's
Yeah.
property. And
Well, how many more trees would you guys recommend that I put
well, we need, I think, a total of 9 trees for this
on the
site.
back of the property?
A total of them. You're proposing 4 new trees at the front, so
Okay.
it would be 5. The one tree you've got down here that says existing tree protect, I've got a photograph that shows that that tree doesn't exist. It's all there is a stump.
Well, you know, what I think what may have happened was there was some trees over there that were in the construction when the architect was drawing these plans up.
Okay.
There was a few that were going to be in the way, so we had taken a couple down. But yeah, we're more than willing to put up, plant more trees. I'm definitely in favor of doing that. Basically, I just want to know what trees you want me to plant, where you want me to plant them.
Well, what I think we should see on this is at least 2 on this east side and 2 or 3 on the Christ the King side, and it could be switched around, where they replace these, are they junipers you've got here? No, euonymus. If you just put a tree in place there, because one argument I've got for this side is that the adjacent property owners have got trees of similar age.
Right.
Now would be a good time to plant some younger trees.
Okay.
So that when those trees go, there'll be trees there.
Okay. And how many did you say you recommend for the back of the?
The site needs a total of 9. You're putting 4 at the front, so you could put a total of 5 on those 2 sides, 2 and 3. They need to be spaced more than 30 feet apart, but you can choose where to put them.
Okay, that's not a problem.
In terms of species, they should be large trees like oaks or these maples that you've got there.
Okay. Any specific oak or maple that you guys would like to see?
Wet location, so
Red oak would do that.
Red oaks?
Well,
white.
yes,
Swamp
white
white.
oak or pin oak probably
Yeah.
would be better for a wet location.
Yeah.
Pin oak?
Or
PIN.
PIN, or swamp white oak.
Okay.
These would be fairly easy to get, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll send
We'll
you the
send you
information.
this information
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point is 9 trees altogether.
Yeah.
They're currently proposed 4
4.
trees
So there's 5 additional.
and need 5 additional trees. And we'll send a variety of the names that would be adequate.
Yeah. And we like the buffering. I mean, the fact you've got some
Yeah.
buffering there is good. Obviously there is no buffering on the west side. Is that agreeable to the owner of that property?
Well, I haven't spoke directly with that property
Just
owner.
The current landscape ordinance requires buffering on all of the adjacent sides unless the parties agree that you don't need to do that.
Okay. Well, I can check with them on that. That's not a problem. And if they want me to put more, put some buffering up, I will. That's not a problem either.
The
The trash container.
yeah, do you propose any landscaping around the trash container at all?
If you'd like to see some bushes around the trash container, it's
If it's
concrete. It's concrete. I'm not sure if you know that or not.
No.
But yeah, I can put some trees around that. That's not a problem.
Some kind of shrub.
Yeah, I mean these
You want some
ornaments-
boxwoods or something?
Boxwood's fine.
If they'd be tall enough.
Yeah.
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 How many would you guys like to see?
It's there.
Yeah, it's this area here. There's that
It
about,
really depends on its configuration
It's
and
like
what's
4 feet by 8
open,
feet
is
or
it?
something.
yeah.
Is it U? It looks like it's U-shaped facing
sir.
facing the building.
Yes, sir. So easy for the students to,
Yeah.
or whoever rents it, where you get your sidewalk to come in right there. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a decorative block, so it's not like it's just it's a decorative block that I'm putting up. But yeah, I have no problem putting some boxwoods or some hydrangeas or something like that there. Something like she said that would kind of bloom out a little bit, so it won't be so quite.
Okay.
That sounds fine.
The people find this? Okay.
So basically, at this time, you'd like to see 5 trees, preferably pin oaks or white oak on the
Swamp
back.
white oak. Swamp white
Swamp
oak.
white oak.
You have a
Swamp
soggy
Which is
white.
side.
I've never heard
different
that
from white
before.
oak.
Yeah, it's a
Swamp.
very wet location down there.
White oak. Okay.
And it will grow much faster than the regular white oak.
Okay.
But you'll get a letter from the chair. She'll send you a
Yeah,
letter.
Code enforcement will have a record of this too. So we will put some notes on map footer.
There was one large remaining tree in the northeast corner, but I'm assuming it was not on your property.
Northeast corner.
Northeast, so towards the river.
No,
and
it's not.
well, it's not on there. Okay.
I don't think there was something.
It's a large box elder. Okay, it must not be, or you would have.
What's your question about it?
Well, if it was on your property, it could count as one of those trees.
Oh, okay.
But it
You know,
was
I
close.
don't have a problem putting more trees up, so it's not like I'm sitting here counting trees or anything like that. I mean, I like trees also.
Good.
So, that's why I'm here is to make sure that, we get what you guys, are recommending, and make sure that you guys are happy with what we're doing.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I think that the commission is satisfied with this and can give approval to this with the addition of 5 trees, that they be shade trees, probably swamp white oak and pin oak.
Okay.
And that there be placement of them along the green space that's against the
Well, it's on the east side
property
and the
line
north.
and on the north side, and that there be some kind of shrub to screen the concrete area around the trash collection.
Okay.
So we'll offer approval of the.
And then speak with the adjacent property owner about a buffer zone.
About a buffer zone
Okay.
between those 2 properties that would be on the west. And it was nice, the euonymus all around, to have this buffering. So,
But that 5 trees is in addition to the 4 that's already
Yes.
proposed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Because those haven't been planted.
So we need to keep a copy of a map that has the changes on it. If this map is too expensive to part with, we need.
No, you can have that.
Okay, we'll mark this one up.
Yes, and this will be on file in the Code Enforcement Office as part of the record.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we need from you. I thank you very
All right,
much,
very good.
Mr. Sfarian.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you. And our second item on the landscape ordinance issues is a very large project, which is the summit at Coates Run. And this is an application that dates from May, before May really, 2007. The old landscape ordinance does come into play, and we do have copies of that you left with us. Thank you very much. All right.
One other sheet today is next.
Oh,
We just
okay.
replaced the 4th sheet.
Okay.
And I guess we can review that in a minute. But really what it is some of the buffer along the Greenbrier residence didn't show up on the 4th sheet. The counts were in our overall counts, so
Okay.
we admit that.
Sheet number 4. I can't work without a pencil, and the map has just swallowed a pencil.
Is that yours?
Thank you. All Right. So in our original review in May of 2007 of the Summit at Coates Run project, we denied the Edge Group's request to increase the spacing along the parking lot perimeter from one shade tree for every 30 feet it was requested that it be every 50 feet, and we said it had to be every 30 feet. And we also called for a strict application of the 30-foot spacing in order to cover the lost tree canopy. We also had concerns about the lack of a soil storage plan at the time. We all noticed that the arborvitae had been removed from the list at our suggestion, perhaps because it's deer food. So those were concerns at the time. Okay, any commissioner comments at this point?
I think the first thing we need to get straight is which landscape ordinance version are we going to do this under. Clearly, the original plans were submitted under the old Title 37. You're entitled to be considered under that one. If you want to be considered under the new one, you can elect to do that, but we need to know which one it is we're going to use, and it's really up to you. I don't think we can have a blending of the two.
But I think we would want to go with the older version.
You want to go with the older version?
Right. In the plan, we have the street trees at 30 feet on center. We did have a diagram showing the perimeter and then the impervious coverage, but we took that off. A new Title 37 was sent to us, and so we thought we didn't know if we had to meet that one or the old versions.
Steve, do you want to just confirm, are we correct in what we're saying, that they are under the old one unless they choose to elect to go under the new one?
I'd say that's true. That was the case too with Mr. Ferry, and that's where you saw this plan that started a little last year. It's kind of more linear type requirements that were.
Well, his plan actually is a good example of how easier the new version is to fit to some of the properties that we're seeing.
It does allow now for larger planting areas where you have 8-foot minimum width, 240 square feet of area, and then you calculate impervious and impervious surface. So it is a lot simpler, but a lot of people start plans under the So I think allowing them the option for their choices is a good decision.
Very good.
Okay, if we're doing it under the old one then, where do we stand with the spacing of these trees along the roadway? Are these now at 30 feet?
Yes, they're all shown at 30 feet. We have 30 feet around the parking lots, except for the one area over at the Carriage Hill property line on the south. You can see on sheet 1.
And that was an extremely steep area was the problem?
Yes, we have a almost sheer face right now that has been approved. So there's really not a lot of planting room. So the trees that have been shown are in the islands where it would be flat. And we were hoping to consolidate those other trees down here around the pond areas and other parts of the site.
David, did you have the same comment?
Do we know the size of the soil base inside the parking lots for the trees?
Do you mean the size of the islands?
Yeah.
I think the islands were 10 foot, or no, they were actually 8 foot width. I think that was the minimum requirement at the time. They met the minimum requirement at the time we submitted it.
Gotcha.
So. But I think the new code was saying that they needed to be 36 feet in length to actually get your minimum square foot. So that's where we were wrestling with.
Well,
we couldn't go back and change the whole site.
I think what it says is that you have to, there's a certain area for the tree.
Correct.
And the minimum dimension of that area is going to be 8 feet.
Right.
And that may be where you're coming at with the other dimension being 30 or something, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a square box, I think it would come out that
Right,
way.
which we couldn't go back and change the whole site plan at this point.
There was a lot of communication about using structured soils too on this site. I'm sorry Ann Bonner's not here about this, but it's a concern that the trees all have soils that will allow them to live. Once you scrape off the in the fashion that's going to happen, there's nothing left for them to grow in. This has to be a part of the package. There has to be a use of structured soils, and I believe Mr. McGuire, who was the lawyer at the time, had said that Edge Group was planning on doing structured soils.
Well, I mean, if they didn't use the proper soil, it means some of the trees would be in danger of dying.
Yes.
That means you have to replant the trees, and
Yeah.
that's expensive.
Yes, it is.
And that's at the owner's risk or expense.
Right, I mean, I think soil is a protector,
As far as I've heard,
right?
the plan is that we have a topsoil stockpile, and there will be topsoil brought back in, and especially in the planting areas. I mean, I think it's in everybody's best interest to save as many of these trees and not have to come back in and replace them. They need to be saved in a healthy state per the Athens zoning code. So,
Any,
Um,
Emily?
Ann Bonner does have some very detailed information about the structured soils to use in places like this. And if you have not gotten a copy of that, I think it would be good to request that from her. That's Ann Bonner at the
Let's-
Department of Natural Resources
Okay.
here on East State Street.
We'll have Ann. Ann has provided this to this group once before, so I'll ask Ann to do it again. So, okay. There are. I have some concerns about the massing of all one kind of species in
Along the drive.
along several areas. In fact, let's see if I can find my top sheet. I believe, Dave, that you have, if you get to the
I
very,
think you have all red maple lining the drives, or some variety of red maple.
yeah, down here. Sorry to do this to you. We like to crinkle our paper and keep the people listening to the
Awake.
microphones awake. Very loud, I suspect. So there are along on sheet 1 along the long drive leading down to Richland Avenue. There's some 35 red maple, all in a group. At the back on sheet 2, angling along the in a kind of right angle. There are 32. There's another kind of Freeman maples, all in a group. 26 red maples along the north area, and 20 along another looping drive down to Richland Avenue. If something goes wrong with maples, they'll all be dead at once. It's not a.
Right.
It's an unhealthy thing to have. It's architecturally interesting,
It's a risk.
right, I was going to say,
but
we wanted to keep a consistent street tree treatment through there, so that when they're all doing their fall color, it makes a big punch.
I mean, that's...
When they're all leafing out, they're doing it's almost an outlay of trees at 30 feet on center.
Again, it's one of these things you should consider. As we said earlier, it's a risk.
Right, it is.
But you're taking them when you do that.
yeah. Okay, this is something that you might want to reconsider. But yes, it is a risk, and now you know.
What kind of other species might you suggest?
Maybe some more
Consider.
oaks. Oaks do well here. Anything that's native trees. Emily, have you?
I'm blank on other things.
It's
other
going
than
up
oak.
on the slope,
This-
but oaks would alternate well with that.
Pardon me.
Oaks would alternate well with the maple. But it's it's up to you whether you want to take that risk.
Yeah.
But are there other areas where you have a lot of the same trees that would be more practical from the visual standpoint to alternate trees?
Yeah, I mean, I was
What
thinking
I was
maybe
thinking,
like we could
The Dairy
have-
Lane entrance might have a
Perhaps that-
certain tree look that we can spread that out a little bit. Or maybe the Dairy Lane has a certain tree going up that drive, and we change and do the red maple on the front. We could do something like that. I think we would want to keep it consistent though along those streets.
Okay.
But we would definitely look into making it a little more proportionate, I guess, instead of all the red maples.
Yeah, there's 143 of them altogether at the
There are.
site, so that could be a big hole if something went wrong.
If you had done this 10 years ago with ashes,
Oh,
you
right.
would be very worried at this point.
Yes, that's true.
And a lot of people did that.
Yes, they did. Yes. Okay. Any other commission comments on the plan at this point?
I think it does conform to the old Title 37.
No.
The only thing I noticed, there's a lot of London plane tree within the parking areas, and I don't know if we've historically had a lot of complaints from the fruit clusters.
Ah,
They pretty much break down pretty easily, but
yeah,
It's a maintenance
right.
issue.
Yeah.
we'll be.
I think one thing we really liked about the London plane trees in the parking lot is
Yeah.
the large canopy and
Yes.
how high up they are.
They do.
Yeah, and
They'll
they'll,
grow relatively quickly.
well, really will be a dramatic thing. Are there any other commission comments?
I think so.
Okay. Does the commission approve the plan under the Title 37, the old version?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Is that an approval?
we offer you our approval, yes.
Okay.
And we will have Ann Bonner send you the structured soils information. And it is a very important aspect of the planting.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And may your trees grow healthy and stay healthy all their lives.
It's a lot of trees.
Yes, it is. Little filing there, thank you very much. Okay. That was the hidden agenda. Our next, are there any other landscape ordinance issues?
Yes. I think we need to go on record about our concerns about the property that's was Hardy's, has been the Lollipop, is now going to become a Donata's Pizza. The concern I've got there is that property is in a prime spot on the Estate Street where we really would like to get some trees planted. It certainly is my impression that I thought it had come under the landscape ordinance, but apparently from what Steve tells us, it has not at any stage managed to meet the threshold for coming under the landscape ordinance. But I think we may want to hear some comment about that before.
And the addition to it is not enough to bring it in under the landscape ordinance?
Apparently not. And this is something, as I say, we need to sort of, I think, listen to, and then, if necessary, get back to council and ask them to look again at what threshold is reasonable. Because I think that we need to figure out a way to do this, because this type of property is, as I say, a prime property for us to be able to get some landscaping in. It wouldn't be particularly expensive to do in a property of this type, but it would be of great benefit to the city, I think, if we could do it.
The applicable section of the code is 3709. It talks about commercial, institutional, industrial landscaping. There's some thresholds where retrofitting is required, but this didn't fall under any of them. So you might want to revisit that section of the ordinance to see if, in a case like this, you would want to institute some language that would require the retrofitting. And in association with that, too, I believe you've recently received an opinion from the law director about what the term replacing a pavement means. So you might want to look at that also.
Is there any work proposed here in terms of resurfacing the
No,
parking lot?
not there.
And at no time was there a square footage increase to that property that would have caused
There's a
the
16 square foot increase.
No,
right now there's
not at this time, but in earlier time. Do you think you recall?
No. I remember I sent the information to you. The building was originally constructed as a burger chef, and I forget when that was. Might have even been in the 70s. It turned into Hardee's. Probably the only thing I can think of that might have been added was the drive-through somewhere along the line, the drive-through canopy. And in this incarnation, there's an additional drive-through that's going to be constructed, but it's only 16 square feet, nowhere near 25% the floor area of the building. The cost of improvement doesn't come anywhere near 50%. The property sold for about $1.2 million several years ago, and the cost of improvement is nowhere near 50%. So you might just want to look at possibly that language in 3709 to see, in situations like this, could there be a retrofit requirement?
Well, I think at some point we have to sort of consider that so many improvements or so many changes should total up to it.
Right. You could have...
where else in the zoning code do we have similar examples of this type of thing?
Nowhere. Now, in the flood hazard regulations, there are some considerations currently underway for what's called cumulative substantial improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So it specifies a total number of improvements in a dollar amount over a certain period of time. So you have a cumulative effect. That way somebody couldn't come in and do 49% and then 49%,
Yeah.
49%. So you could do a cumulative substantial improvement over a period of time, which if you had something like that with the renovations, to the Lollipop, it might have met that total.
Is this cumulative on the same owner, or can you have a switch?
You
One
could-
owner, then a second owner that
I would
does
say you
49%?
could form it, you could draft it however you wanted to. And it could do with the premises, owners assigns successors to a property, so it would be over time, not with owners. It'd be easy then to just sell it to somebody too for $1 and change owners, if you limited it to the, the actual owner.
Does the floodplain regulation consider that at all? A change of ownership, or is that?
No. No, it has to do with the property, not the owner.
Do you know offhand how close they are to maximizing their parking situation? Are they well in
They're well in compliance with
Okay.
their parking, yes.
Can the tree commission draft a friendly letter of recommendation?
Well, we could.
We could do that.
Just as a suggestion,
Yes.
and how it would benefit their property.
Yes.
Can you ask Angela?
Yes. Well, there's a question also that perhaps we may have a tree permit issue from the past here. Is that right-of-way area, is the green space out front still right-of-way?
Those are the plans I believe you and I did forward to you some information
Yeah.
about East State Street widening
Right.
drawings, and there is some right-of-way in the front there, where there are plantings currently that are on the right-of-way, especially in the corners,
Yes.
Yeah.
right around the pedestrian, the handicap ramps as they go up and down to the street. So there are drawings that indicate what plantings currently are on the right-of-way. Now, there's no intent that I know of to touch any of those right now,
No.
just to leave them the way they are. They're basically just very, especially on the one corner over by the Maplewoods, just a huge
Shrub.
It's almost as big as a tree.
Yeah, it is big.
We get complaints all the time it's blocking line of sight when people pull up to the stop sign. So.
Okay, well, a tree might be better there than a shrub. I'd like to ask a former member of the Tree Commission to comment on the tree permit issue here, potentially, if you have any memory. Angela Cross, could you, yes, please. Can't hear you otherwise.
When I was a tree commissioner in the 80s, Hardy's took down their trees that were in that landscape in the right-of-way. And I was told to go and ask about the trees, what they were intending to replace them with. And I went to Hardy's and I met with a manager. It was a lady at that time. And she assured me that they were planning to replace the trees that they had removed. And that was really the last that we heard about it. It wasn't very long after that that management changed, and then the Lollipop bought it, and these things. I don't know if that would have any effect at all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Angela. So potentially there ought to have been trees,
What was the
replacing
year?
trees in the 19...
It was the late 90s.
Yeah, late 90s. Late 1990s.
Late 90s.
Yeah. So trees were removed
There were
and...
crab apples, purple leaf plum trees.
Well, at some time, weren't there some corkscrew willows on that property On the
That I remember
sides?
seeing, there were definitely some shrubs, but I was sent about the trees because the tree commission there wasn't an ordinance about shrubbery at that time.
Yeah.
And the landscape ordinance was not in existence at that particular point. And the tree commission was only interested in
Trees.
and the right of way. And
Or pure.
they removed trees from the right of way and they never replaced them.
Right.
Okay.
So that could be part of a letter
Yeah.
pointing out that previously there were trees there that an original owner has not replaced. They
Yes.
have inherited the responsibility.
It's
I will-
actually 2 owners before, right? Is it?
Well, it's 2 changes of name. I don't know whether that actually constitutes a
Yeah.
change of ownership, because sometimes these places are leased.
Right.
Right. I think as long as it's been Lollipop, it's been one owner, and perhaps that person continues to own the property. So, yes, I will draft a letter to the property owner and ask for planting of trees to be carried out that hadn't been carried out by previous owners who had promised. This, of course, well, look in your email for a letter to come around, and if you have any editing suggestions, please do make
Well,
them.
I think what we should also try and include in the letter would be a remark about how many trees the site should have on it in total. Maybe we can play on their conscience.
9
think-
trees.
It's 9, yeah, 89.
Yeah, yeah. And in some cases, and in some places on that lot where that large shrub is, it really would be an improvement for visibility at the very least. Yeah,
And it
that-
would cut down some of their maintenance costs.
Yes, that's true. They do a lot of bushwhacking
Yeah. Replacements.
and replacements. So, any other landscape issues? Okay, the third item on our agenda is commission appointment recommendations. We have John Woodrow, who is stepping down from the commission after long service, and we thank you, John, for all the years and the good business sense and number sense. And we are going to recommend that an alternate who has served on the commission for some time and has been sitting in when people are absent, David Sinkoff, would go into John's position. All these recommendations would have to be approved by the mayor and then approved by city council thereafter. So are there other nominations to be, we have, well, never mind, I will do it myself.
You've got the names.
I've got the names and I've got all these resumes.
There will be an opening for an alternate then.
Yes, in fact, there will be 2 alternate openings. Since Tricia Lockman has moved from the city and is no longer able to serve on the commission. So
That's if my promotion is approved.
that's right. You get kicked upstairs. And the other commissioners that we have potential for are Jared DeForest. Dr. DeForest is an assistant professor of environmental and plant biology at Ohio University. It is possible that he may step directly into a commission position if the mayor accepts Lee Gregg's offer to step down. She would like to stay in advisory capacity, but she hasn't made that offer. She may, we'll see what the mayor chooses. And we have also a nominee, John Katowski, who has experience at the university in various areas that include architecture and also environmental studies. And he would be recommended for the mayor's choice. And a third nominee applicant has been recommended highly by Ann Bonner, Donald Jordan. So there are, with Lee's, if Lee steps down and the mayor accepts it, we would have Jared and David on as new commissioners, full commissioners, and possibly John Katowski and Don Jordan in the alternate positions. So we thank you all for the interest. Thank you, Dr. DeForest, for applying. Are there any comments on It's too late now.
I think they all sound as though they would be excellent people for commissioners or alternates.
This is very heartening. Thank you all. Thank you, John, in particular. We have, as our fourth item, other. Are there any other items that need review at this time? And we have then the approval of the minutes of the April, of the May 10th meeting. I've mistyped something here. So if people would please review the minutes that have been provided, if you haven't already read them on email.
And what were the two? Valento is 1L.
Yeah, 1L, and
There was something that had been approved.
yes, that received approval.
Okay.
Next term is the previous.
No, that's an error.
Okay.
And I think you may have printed out your defect. Okay. Yeah, just a file label problem.
Yeah, definitely. Just a year off.
Yeah, and then we'll get a copy of the all the minutes of last year and this year to you to give to the secretary.
Yes, that would be good. Okay, are there any other, would somebody move to approve the minutes or disapprove the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Somebody? Bye-bye. Okay, the minutes are approved as amended. And that is the meeting. And our next meeting will be on Thursday, July 10 at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers. And people should note that our meetings are on the second Thursdays of the month. Thank you all.
Is it still in the computer currently? The city?
I think it is. But I haven't looked in the last week or so. So thank you, John. Bird dog there.